teaching, not just straight up teaching with an individual, but group stuff, interviews and those things. And tonight we're going to do some team teaching with the Smiths. And we'll see how it goes. We've been together since we were 16. We're both 40. She is older than I am. I married up. She was
my gosh.
We got together. I was a junior. She was a senior. We were friends in softball. Yeah. Official. She was a senior. I was a junior. And
yes.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school, told all my friends I was dating somebody in college.
Oh my gosh.
To me, and then clout, you know what I mean? And
oh gosh.
my girl's a freshman in college, you know what I'm saying? He was like, word? I was like, word. So we've known each other for a long time and we have fun. We like to pick with each other and just have fun. I think marriage should be fun. I mean, boring and stuff. But anyway, y'all share. And tonight we're going to talk about adjustments. So we've been together since we were 16. Got married. I was 27.
Yep. You were 27. I had just turned 28.
You just turned 28, yeah.
It was July.
And I was 27. See, men are good with dates sometimes. We've been married since 2009. So we're on our 14th, 15th?
13th
13th year. 13th year. Yeah, 13th year. Yeah, I was talking trash. Then messed up. 13th year this year in July. But anyway, adjustments along the way. So we talked a couple times in the past couple sessions about learning to make the adjustment in marriage, which I think is very important. That the first adjustment is, let's talk about this. We all come to marriage with a preconceived notion, how we think it should be done. And then you run into your mate's view of how it should be done and how to manage that conflict. Or, watch this, take it to a place where it's not a conflict, but learning how to merge thoughts to find, a middle ground that benefits both people. And what's important for one, important for the other. I'm kind of setting it up for her so she can talk, give her a chance to think about her answer. But making that adjustment, the initial adjustment is key, which is why we go over definitions. What's love look like, marriage look like, husband, spouse, etc., and coming to that agreement. So kind of share your thoughts on that initial merging of ideas of what a relationship looks like.
One of the best things I think my dad told me when we first got married about adjustment was, it feels like tug of war until it feels like give and take. And that is like something that really helps me understand what adjustment is like. That at first it feels like a pulling at like different ideas until you learn how to compromise and learn what marriage actually looks like. I think you're right. You come into marriage with like an idea, a picture in your mind. And I think a lot of us idealize that, like this idea of marriage. But until you're in it, you don't realize just how much work it is to compromise, to merge ideas and expectations. You can talk about it, but in practice, it's a lot more challenging than, like I remember when we first got married and we came back from the honeymoon, and the honeymoon was great, right? And then you are in the house, and I think that week we got back, the next day was Sunday morning worship service. So we had Sunday morning worship. And so it was like, a lot of quick moves and transitions. And then I remember sitting in the house and I was like, I want to go home. And Nick was like, what did you think? You were like, what did you think was going to happen? He's like, you can leave if you want to. And I was like, what did I just get myself into? And it was like, all right, I guess I'm a wife. I had to figure out, okay, you'll be at church. I have to make dinner. Oh my holy God. It's a wake-up call that there is a lot of change and things that you have to kind of wrap your mind around when you first get married. Yeah,
it's when reality smacks you in your face. Let me qualify that, if you take it seriously.
Yes.
And not look at it just as a purely, oh, we're together, we love each other look, to a more of, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, and I'm responsible for somebody else's life to a certain degree, their well-being, and all those things. So that initial definition, and I'm glad we went through premarital counseling with Bishop, and he had us go through definitions and adjustments. But you're right. It takes one moment to make a couple a unit. It takes years to become a good team.
Yeah.
To be able to adjust and to flow. Excuse my kids in the back. Adjust and to flow. All right.
Adjustment.
This is marriage. Adjustment. And flow. And for us, the second part was we got together young.
Yeah.
So who we were at in our college years dating was different than who we were in our late 20s when we got married, and then 30s, and then having your first child, and then now we're in our 40, just turning 40. You have to grow and evolve with that person, because what I liked at 22 isn't necessarily what I necessarily like now at 40.
Yeah.
And we get married. Somebody said this is so true. Women get married hoping that their men will change, and men get married hoping their woman will stay the same. and and the frustration is that in learning how to grow with each other and navigate that growth and communicate that growth too.
Yeah.
I thought you used to like that. Nah, I like it, but I'm kind of grown out of that. So kind of talk about, like, if you're, she's a therapist, y'all. So if somebody's coming to you for counseling with that, what would you say about people that are having a hard time adjusting to a spouse that's experiencing an evolution and a change?
Something I think we taught together in class back in young adult ministry, and we talked about the importance of like-mindedness, and that even if there are certain things about you that change over time, the core things stay the same.
Yeah.
Like our value systems are still in alignment, even though like our interests and other things, we make changes. I think it's important to embrace your spouse's changes over time, as long as like the core things are still the same. Like the fundamentals that stays the same, right? You build on that. But if we have different desires over time, then the like-mindedness we had in the beginning. So that was a good thing about us having a friendship.
Yeah.
That foundation helps us when we make adjustments now.
Yeah.
Because we can go to each other and have hard conversations that I think a lot of people, when they go into marriages, they are rushing it. And if you don't have that foundation, you will struggle with this, because I think the fact that we have openness and we've always had that helps us have difficult conversations about change now.
Right.
And one thing I'm learning now is that you will keep adjusting. Is like the 16-year-old I was in the beginning versus the 21, 25, 30, 35. It's like every season we have to have conversations about our differences. And it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing that we have that foundation to go off on. But if you don't have that, it's always going to be a lot of, you know,
conflict. Yeah. And understanding that, because we get comfortable.
Yeah.
You get into a routine, and this is what we always do, especially men, because, we're routine, you get comfortable in a zone, and most men are like that. It's not that we don't like change, because we do change, we do evolve, but there is certain security in a routine and learning how to break said routine every now and then. Well, you don't worry about me, because she's the more diplomatic one. I'm the adventurous one, so it never gets boring for me too much, because go have fun.
I think that's changing over time.
A little bit, not too much. A little bit, not too much, just a little bit. But that adjustment is key. Now, bringing up the next adjustment is children. Again, we're talking about just a bunch of adjustments, and we'll get into some tips on more adjusting better. Learning to drop your ego. Learning to be humble allows you to make adjustments. Learn to think of the other more than you think of yourself. Yeah. What's best for the relationship over what's best for the individual is important. Because when you have children, that brings on a whole nother adjustment. Yeah. When you're at the hospital and the baby's born, you're happy, you're crying, it's new, it's wonderful, it's joyful. And then when you go home and the baby don't sleep, and you're living off of 3 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep. And then you have different ways to practice child rearing and how one thinks it should be done, how the other one thinks it should be done, can bring some challenges to the relationship. Now, I'm not of the mind where the woman does all the work for the child and the man just sleeps while she up with the baby all night. Bruh, stop being lazy. Get your behind up. I'm sorry. Get out of bed and help. Well, she's breastfeeding. Bruh, you can make a bottle with, the storage, and you can feed the baby to help get some sleep. We would actually trade off. It'd be like 4 hours your time, 4 hours mine. From 12 to 4, I'm up. From 4 to 8, she's up. And we would practice that, to make that adjustment. But it wasn't the easiest all the time because you're fatigued, the baby ain't sleeping, you're tired. You have different ways that you think about rearing a child. And with your first child, you're real hands-on. Both of y'all are like, second child comes, what we doing. You all right. So let's talk about that adjustment of children. Because now you're adding extra into your life. And parenting, if you're not careful, can divide you as a couple because you focus so much on being parents that you forget about each other.
I think we had a conversation about that before, and I think that one of the things that we had to learn is that we view parenting and the need for children differently, right? And I think that there's just certain conversations before you get married versus once you're married that you don't know that you need to have until you're actually in it.
Yep.
And so I think that the way that I enjoy parenting and the way you enjoy it are different, but they're not wrong. And making that adjustment with, okay, what do you need? Let me back off and let you, be the parent you need to be as long as we agree. And it was hard in the beginning, I think partly because, number one, our son was special needs, and that threw a curveball in the parenting, and then all of the appointments and things we had to do in the beginning, and then versus having a second child, that was a shocker. And then on top of that, all of the life things that happened that came along with that you don't expect. And it's good to have someone that you can communicate with when you're making adjustments, especially because in a marriage, you can't always predict what those changes are going to look like. So you want to have somebody that you can actually have conversations with. I think I keep saying that because that's a big thing in marriages. And even when I'm doing couples therapy, it's the lack of communication all the time that,
sit down.
Kids are in trouble.
Move over. Back. Sorry.
It's always a lack of communication, though, that tends to be the biggest thing that couples struggle with, is how they communicate about things. Yeah. So that's important.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody about to get their butts beat.
Stop it. Sit down. Stop. Thank you. So, children and adjustments. And it's important. I think you have to have a constant willingness to grow with each other.
Yes, that's
and important. A willingness to make adjustments, and a willingness to hear the person out and understand that, watch this, your point of view may not be right. Shocker. You may be wrong. Or watch this, you may be right, but the other person's way is better than yours.
Yeah.
And being able to overcome a sense of stubbornness to say, this is how it's supposed to be and how I was raised. Just because you were raised that way doesn't mean it's the same thing. I gave the example before where, my family, for the most part, we weren't much morning people. You wake up, you grunting each other in the morning. What's up? What's up? All right, get ready. And you go. She come from a family of morning people, talkers. And
no, we just talk.
Talkers, morning people. And, we talked, but it was like later in the day, when everybody's kind of more fully awake. And then, early in the marriage, wake up, hey, I'm like, can I get the crust out my eyes first? Can I but I couldn't say, oh, you was wrong because the way my family, you make the adjustments, and she learned to adjust to me. I learned to adjust to her, and adjustments take time and patience with each other to make those adjustments. And especially again, when it comes to children, because they come in and they throw a monkey wrench. Because here's the thing. I'll say this last point. We got to get out of here soon. How much time we got left? Okay. We got about 5 minutes left. Sorry for taking care of the kids and all this stuff in between. But this is marriage. Is learning how to adjust to the life circumstances and not letting those circumstances stop you from becoming a spouse. So I can't give myself to everybody all day long and then have nothing for my family when I come home. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? To the family. And then the family understanding, look, he's been given all day. Let's take a break. Or you've been at work all day and I've been home with the kids. You know, when she comes home, she likes to jump with the kids first, you know, or whatever. But learning to make that adjustment where I can still be a good father, still be a good spouse, because it's unfair to give myself to everybody else and then come to them and say, I've been preaching, praying, counseling people all day. Leave me alone. That's not right. Yeah. You still have to be able to give to other people. And I think that's why in scripture, when a couple got married, there was no work or war for a year. You're just focused on being a couple for a whole entire year, then do all the stuff after the fact. So kind of talk about, you know, if somebody comes to you, a couple says, you know, this circumstance, what would you say to them? Some tips and tools on how to navigate life, child rearing, and marriage at the same time.
It is a challenge. I think first just accept that. It is. I think we expect there's an easy solution. Like, tell me what to do to fix this, right? And there is no easy way. There's just a way. And I think part of it is something that you said, right? Merging in a level of willingness. So like, why does your perspective and your needs have to be wrong and mine's right, or one better and the other than the other? Why can't it just be that we're both right now and let's make it work? You know, that your needs are your needs, my needs are mine. How about we merge it and figure out a solution? Because I don't want to just because I think if one person is always bending to cater to what the other person needs, then that's a problem. Then there's resentment. Then there's all these other issues. But if we're figuring out a way to outspoil each other, as we talked about a long time ago, right? Like, my goal is to give you whatever it is I can to meet your need, and vice versa. As long as we're both doing that, then we'll win. But there is a level of willingness that's necessary. And then give each other grace. So like, if you do have a day where, can I please just explore my own interests tonight and go get some rest because we're exhausted, we work, we have children. Let's make space for each other to do that, right? Go do your thing, right? If you're tired after a long day, rest. Now, of course, we don't want that to be a habitual, everyday thing. But I think if there's a level of like acceptance and willingness of the other person's needs, then you'll always make it out okay. Right? You allow? Go ahead. Bye. Sometimes the other person needs that, right? Like, can I go here for a minute and do that? You'd be like, by all means, because I need it just as much as you. Some peace and quiet, some separation. You can still be independent and be married.
Yes.
You know.
Don't have to be on top of each other the whole time.
Do everything together all the time. Like, go and play your game, go do this. Have some freedom, as long as you find a way to come back together and give each other what they need in order to feel happy in the marriage.
I heard somebody say, doing a marriage thing, he was saying, you know, be honest about where you are. Like you just said, you know, tonight I'm tired. I just don't have it in me to do all this stuff. Tomorrow I'll be better. Communicate it. Like, you know, I've been out all day, I'm sleepy, just give me 10 minutes or whatever. And the other person shouldn't feel bad, like, oh, you don't want me. No, you're going to want me to take this break because I'm going to be better.
Give me a break. I need you to say.
Yes.
Can I get a break?
But that comes with trust. And willingness, and to be able to make an adjustment. But if you don't have trust in your relationship, and if you're not careful, that'll feel like a rejection rather than, let me give my spouse some space to do whatever. But this is all based off the platform of things working. Because when y'all can't stand each other.
That's a good point. Trust is super important, because even in therapy, that's one of the biggest things that keep people from communicating. If I can't just tell you that I'm having a day where I'm off and need some support, you know, then what are we doing here? Because trust is extremely important, and the ability to just be able to communicate to your partner that I'm having an off day without feeling like, oh, I can't say nothing to him, he don't accept it, or I can't say nothing to her. As soon as I say I need a break, she get all, in her feelings and like that. She get in her feelings and she get all shut down and start getting an attitude. Then she moping around the house. That doesn't help in any marriage when it comes to adjusting. Give each other space, but that you're right. It comes with trust. It comes with communicating those things and then not being offended every time your spouse has a need.
Right.
It's not just about you. This is marriage. And some people I want to tell them, like, why did you get married if everything has to go your way? Don't get married. Just stay single, because if you can't accommodate your partner, then you need to just not be married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just don't be married.
Yeah. Which goes into, maybe we can talk about this next month if we do a part 2, which is how we bring our own issues to the marriage and let those issues negatively affect the marriage. Because that's really what we're talking about now, is I bring my own rejection issues to the relationship. And then I interpret everything you do as a rejection of me, when it's not a rejection of me at all. It's me interpreting all this stuff through the lens of my own pain. And from a therapeutic standpoint, from a spiritual pastoral standpoint, that hurts a lot of people in relationships. When I do marriage counseling, talking to them, well, this hurt my feelings. Let's talk about why. And 99% of the time, it's not always about what the person did or what the person said. It was triggered when the person said it and what did it from something that happened 20, 30 years ago that has nothing to do with the spouse that you have. So we need to do a lot of inner healing. And I think we think the marriage is going to heal and fix all that stuff. Marriage exposes all that stuff. You realize you a little off sometimes.
Speaking of adjustment, this man. Okay, so
be careful what you say.
No. In our history, I remember him. He says to me, Tiffany, I'm not Garth McBride. That's my dad, right? So, and it was I was actually glad that he called me out on that, because you're right. I think when we come into like a relationship, we have an expectation of what it will look like. And so I like completely love my dad, but Nick is not my dad, right? So, and you had just mentioned to me, I need you to adjust because I want a partner. I don't want somebody to have to parent. And that was like a wake-up call for me, but it's true. Like sometimes when we come into relationships, we bring our history, but we have to make the adjustment that you're not the only one in the relationship. You can't bring everything from your past in. You have to work through some of your own ways of living and make sure that you're accommodating the other person. It can't just be one-sided. I think it was important for me as a female to hear that, because a lot of men do not like address that to the women that they're in a relationship with, because they don't want to hurt their feelings. But sometimes it's necessary that you have difficult conversations in order to move forward. So I appreciated that, because it helped me to take a step up and realize that you got to do more. And if you love the person, you will. You'll make the adjustment.
We all do. I grew up basically good mom, but she was at work a lot, so we kind of like
did our
own thing. You get married, you used to doing your own thing, and it's like, nah, bruh. you kind of get used to just like, I was, after I moved out, I was living on my own for a while, doing me all this time, and it's like, bruh, no. You know what I mean? Like, but you have to make those adjustments and let people have those difficult conversations with you. Because if not, your upbringing.
Your upbringing.
You can't, because you like my house, you can get used to not talking sometimes. And it's like, no, you live with somebody else. You got to talk. And I got a daughter, and this girl, she talks. Y'all pray for me, please. All right, we're out of time, y'all. We're running over time. Maybe we'll do part